your phones out and your ring lights. We about to go live. Come on your phone screen, man, we going live.
Welcome back to another episode of the Ty Brady Way. Today I have Trey Farr. I finally pinned him down. And we're going to get a lot of good stuff out of this, I promise you. And he was like, how can I say this? He had a lot of friends watching him and now has built even a richer and more successful life by the friends that his friends that watched him. And he went against some things that his mentor said, but it helped him. And we'll get into that. But Trey, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's
So
a pleasure.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So you started out like you were going to go. You're like, hey, I got out of high school. You're trying to figure out what you want to do. You're working some jobs. At what point did you? Well, what happened after high school? Let's start there because there's a lot of people in your shoes. Like, hey, what did you do after high school? What did you say? Because some people go to college, some people don't. What was your thoughts?
Oh man, that was a big decision. Out of high school, it was a big mystery what I was going to do with my life. There's just so many different avenues you can go. I thought about going to play college baseball. I thought about real estate, like all these different things. And so I started talking to people around me on what they were doing, and especially the successful people I had around me in my life. A lot of them have different advice to give. In Utah, a lot of people go on like LDS missions. And all my friends were kind of just like poof gone. And I was like, well, I'm here alone. I'm going to figure out. I'm going to make the most of these 2 years while my friends were gone. So I actually met with one of my friends' dads I kind of grew up with, and he was really successful in real estate. And I was like, hey, I think I want to go into real estate with you. He, I see him. He doesn't work a ton. He makes all this money, travels, all this, all the fun stuff. And I was like, hey, I want to go into real estate with you. And he's like, if I could go back, I would have done insurance with my brother Chris. And I was like, coming from you, like,
what?
You
he had a gift.
I was like, dude, I was just gonna work for you.
Yeah.
Like,
and he shot you down.
He shot me down, and he would have loved me to work for him. He's like, dude, if I could give you the best advice I can give, if I could go back my own self, I would have done insurance with my brother Chris. So I was like, well, 18 years old, I met with his brother Chris Phelps, as you know. And I was like, yeah, I'll get licensed and try it out. And his reasoning behind it was like, I wake up, Bear, his name is Bear Phelps. He does real estate. He's like, I got to wake up every single day and chase my next deal. I don't know, I'm not guaranteed anything after I sign one deal. He's like, my brother Chris is over here. He jokingly said he works 2 months out of the year up in enrollment, and then he makes, more than me residual every single month. He's like, he makes money when he sleeps, and that's what the most successful people do. And so that's how I got into it. I went and got my licenses, and I was like, Chris, I'll try this out. I have nothing else to do, and so kind of rest is history at that point. So
for 2 years, what was that like? Because you get licensed, right? What was that like those first 2 years?
Wasn't easy, honestly. Like it was tough at times. I was it's cool just being your own boss and like all the benefits of it, but insurance is a slow start. Oftentimes people want to get rich so fast and they can't see the picture at the end. But honestly, I look back and I'm like so appreciative that I was really able to put my head down and be like, see the bigger picture of it. Starting out, it was, great. I had Chris Phelps, obviously was a great mentor to me. He helped me so much, and it's cool being able to be one call away to one of the, big dogs in the industry. And he, was able to pick me right up. And so starting out, how it started, I went and did the retail stores. I shadowed a couple people, and a couple great people. Carol Abram was one of the first people I shadowed, and was doing retail stores and stuff like that. And then just got thrown into the Lions Den. I went in, I was working a West Valley Smiths up here, my first open enrollment. And I kind of started like the first week of November, so it wasn't the best time, but honestly,
it's about the time I started, actually.
Really?
Yeah. 16 years ago.
It's worse times, but it's like, it's go. There's no time to learn anything. So it was great though. I did the retail store starting out, and what I loved about those is like you get to know every different insurance situation starting out really fast, because like everyone you talk to is like, oh, I got this, and everyone's different. It's like, well, you get, it's a lot of questions, answers too, but you learn the industry really fast. And that's why I love retail stores. And that's how I feel like I was able to pick things up really quick. So I did retail stores. My first year, I actually Chris told me, hey, you got to go network. You got to find referral partners. So I joined a networking group called Master Networks when I was 18, and it honestly helped me a lot. I instantly gave me a relationship with financial advisors, home and auto agents, and other people that own their own businesses, and sent referrals back and forth, and kind of just helped me like mature a lot because I was just surrounded by like older people that already had their own businesses, stuff like that. So honestly, that helped me a lot get going. Then after that, just kept producing. Just found ways. I was just doing all the retail opportunities and building referral partners and stuff like that. I never got into like buying leads or cold calling, anything like that, but I was just trying all the different ways you could to kind of produce, and just whatever stuck. And so that's when, I did that for about 2 years, and then that's when I started, the agency, stuff like that.
So the story that Chris tells me is, I think he said you guys were talking, going to lunch, and you were thinking about buying a car. and what did Chris tell you?
He said not to buy it.
He did? Yeah.
He said never to buy, a nice car. It's just a depreciating asset. And I kind of went against what he was saying behind his back, and I bought it was like $30,000 car. It wasn't anything crazy. It was a Mercedes C-Class. So like it looks really nice, right? It's a sedan Mercedes. It's a 2019. Oh, I loved it. It's a nice car, like especially for being, I think I was 19 or 20 at the time. It wasn't like I bought it right away. I was doing insurance for about a year or two at least. And so, but oh man, I bought that car, and Chris and Dave, they were not happy. They were really upset. But what do you know, about a few weeks later after I bought it, I'd show up to the gym and everyone's like, oh my gosh, who's like, what are you doing for work? All this stuff. And one by one, man, I just kept getting questions. I was like, hey, come try insurance. Like it's done well for me. And, probably within a month, I had 5 or 6 students licensed at one time. And it was pretty cool because I honestly, at the time, I had no idea of like what like a manager contract looked like or getting other people in the agency. I was just 100% focused on self-production, and then that happened. I was like, oh, I got introduced to the GA contract, and it was just so cool that I was like, okay, we're growing. And honestly, Chris is he'd say it's a good investment.
He does now. He's like, wow, okay, that really helped out, right?
He's like, all right, I'll give you that one. I won't say anything about the next car I bought because that was just bad, but
You're going to see if I can duplicate it again. Now you went from a 30,000 to a 100,000 car and see if I can. You're like, no, they know where
I was like, all right, we need some humbling here. So, no, it was good. So, I don't regret it, and it was good. And then, just growing from there. So
now you're building this. You went from, I think that's where I started. I started as an individual producer, and then said, hey, there's something to this. I want to be able to give back. It brings me to my next point is, I think you said you joined a mastermind group, and people in mastermind groups that have already made it, I think genuinely from the bottom of their heart, they want to see other people succeed.
Yep.
And you talk about those referral partners and people that were older than you that basically said, hey, you know what? Yeah, I may do home and auto. I'm a financial planner, but they, being part of that group, they wanted to see you succeed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that the service is such a huge thing, because that's what this is all about. I mean, we're selling somebody a piece of paper that when the garbage hits the fan, that they're not going to lose their house, right? Mm-hmm. And then they're going to be protected. So when you transitioned from, personally producing, I'm sure you still personally produce, what was it like now? You're like, okay, now I have to mentor these guys, right? How was that?
It was a lot. Like when I first thought about it, I was like, oh, great. Like I'll have guys under me. Like I'll make some money off them. And it was just all sunshine and rainbows. But, oh, man, it was far from. Like, especially just young guys. We were just, I was still new. I was 2 years new. But I'll tell you what, like, it's a lot more work at the beginning. Like, contracting, and it's like learning a new language from the beginning. With
it was behind the scenes you didn't know.
Yeah, it was just I didn't know. You don't know what you don't know, and I was just like, well, they were just coming at me, and I was like, well, I'm going to figure this out one way or another. And, I had people that were help me point in the right direction, but it's a lot more than even just like manage their Medicare. You get involved in all their life and stuff like that. And honestly, some of the trickiest parts of it were like I was friends with some of them, and then I had to have like a work relationship with them now. And so it's a lot different because you're like, okay, well, where's the line do I need to draw? Because I'd be like, one Eli Marks, for example, he's one of my best friends. I've known since I was like 4 or 5 years old. Grew up with him. He was one of my first agents, and so it's like you gotta have a border of like where's this work and friendship line, and so you gotta kind of go with that. But it was good. It was hard at first, but obviously once you get a few going and you're like, okay, I got the process down, and you're it's kind of you're I felt responsible for these guys' like success in a way.
Yes.
Like it was a lot of pressure because they go spend some of them a couple months getting licensed and stuff like that. They get gonna help them contract and stuff. It's like, where do you go from there? They trusted you enough to go put months and months of like hours into getting licensed. It's like, okay, well now I'm gonna look at you to make me money and like put them in the right direction. And so it was a lot of pressure, honestly. But I'll tell you what, from Tanner Child and Eli and a bunch of these guys, Preston Mann, some of my guys from the very beginning, man, they're making a couple $100,000 a year now, and it's so cool to. Oh man, it just makes me feel so good. And like you said, like at some point, money's great, but like when you're able to give back and help other people grow their business and see that from an outside view, and there's nothing that feels better. Honestly, it's so cool to watch, and just being like going out of high school, just being like friends with them to now like being successful together. It's great. And when
you're lifting, what is that saying? Where the tide rises, right? All ships rise with the tide.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. And my mentor used to tell me, like, Ty, you owe it to the people that relied on you, to their family, and to them until they quit. And I would sit there, I'm like, well, I think, how do I know when they quit? Like, but you know when they give up, right?
Right.
But as long as they're willing to put forth the effort, because I don't like to use the word try. Some people use the word try. If they're willing to call me and say, Ty, how do I close this deal? Or what's next? Then I owe it to them, right?
100%.
And I'm never gonna make that call where I'm saying, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore, because they relied on me at some point, and I owe it to them to be successful, because somebody did that for me.
Yep. Absolutely.
Right. And if I didn't have that resource, I'm not saying I'd be gone, but maybe it doesn't look the way it does today.
And insurance is one of those things that you'll get out of it what you put into it. And if you're putting the energy and the time, and you have someone, like if I have someone that's coming to me and they're hungry, and I owe it to them to give them everything I have. Like, new agent Tanner Yates, he's the most hungry kid I've ever seen. It's like, dude, I owe it to him to give all of my energy and do whatever I can to make him be successful. And there's some agents I get in, they're just like, this works out, and that's kind of what they get out of me. I'm not going to make them, I'm trying to point them in the right direction, but I'm not going to. You can't feed them that drive. Like, they got to have it themselves. And if they don't, then it's hard on us. But it's like, only to an extent can you push them to be, what you want them to be. So.
You can never push somebody out of their comfort zone, and their level of success may not be your level of success. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of agents that joined at the same time I did, and I may be up here and they're still right here. Yeah. But you know what? They're happy.
Yeah.
And that's all I can say is, if you're happy, I'm happy for you. Yeah. And I got to be that lighthouse and that beacon for them. You talked about, I got to point them in the right direction. You said that a few times now. You got to point them in the right direction, and they have to navigate the waters, right?
Yeah.
And they have to get through the tough times and the ups and downs. But if they do it on their own with your guidance, then they did it, and they will be rewarded.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they'll be so appreciative of you, and they'll respect you as like a mentor and as a manager and stuff like that. And that's what you want. You want them to, have respect for you and be grateful for you helping them. And obviously it feels good to, have like even Chris, I know he feels good and takes a little bit of credit for like my success. And I'm like, as you should.
Yes.
100%. And that's what I want to give back to them, and just, be someone to them that can help them as, I have myself. So.
It reminded me of people I knew nothing about a GA contract or any of the management contract, and I was just telling people, you got to come do this, because I was so excited, and I'm seeing the dollars and I'm seeing the money, and I'm telling them, and then my manager's like, well, you don't qualify, so we just got to put them direct to me. I'm like, that's fine, I didn't care, and I'm just like, I'm just doing this because I'm like, everybody should be doing this, because it was, and then flip side, I'm like, okay, I see what he was saying, because there's certain requirements for certain things, and you know, and looking back, I'm like, wow, but then we moved those people under me, and then we moved it and scaled it from there.
Yeah. And now look at you.
I know, yeah. This be you one day, right?
I know.
You're onward and upward.
I know.
So you got this team. What are some things that you do with your team to help them stay engaged and motivated? And then I'm going to go back to one thing when you talked about business and friendship. So how do you keep your team motivated? Because I mean, it is. You got kids making a couple $100,000 a year. Yeah. 24 years old, 23 years old.
Yeah. Motivated from the beginning is the key. And honestly, from starting from 0 to 10 to 20 to 100, you got to have them motivated from the beginning. And honestly, that it helps as they become successful to stay hungry and stuff like that. And a big part of what's hard for me is all my agents, except for maybe one or two, they're just young single guys that have no kids, have no mortgage, so they make 8, 10, 15 grand a month, and they're like, oh, I get stagnant. And so it's hard to get them motivated because you see the residual coming in, and you're like, well, I could go to work, but I could not. And so honestly, it's just getting back to why we do this, and the fact that you're helping people, and that sort of thing, and just letting them know it feels good to really help people and go back to that. And so that's why each one of them, and it's hard because each one of them, different things motivate them. Some are super materialistic, some are just hey, I just want to not have to worry about money and just be comfortable, and so each agent's different, especially now. I've had a team of straight guys, and then now I have 7 or 8 girls being onboarded right now, and it's different. It's going to be different, and they're going to
good luck, Trey. Good luck on that one.
It's going to be different to what motivates them. And I honestly, I'm so grateful for my men's group and stuff like that, because what we're talking about right now is leadership, and I can't take enough classes or do enough on my own to be as great of a leader as I possibly can. And I'm still 22, just trying to fully understand, what a leader is, and, what the leaders in my life and what that looked like, and, what motivated me and stuff like that. So, man, I still got a lot to learn, but I'm trying. I feel like I'm doing the work to become the best leader I possibly can, and motivate them, and to let them, push them to be the best version of themselves and be as successful as they want to be. So.
One of the books that really helped me is The 5 Money Languages. Really? And the reason it helped me is because people are motivated by different things, right?
Yeah.
And for me, the one takeaway that I learned in that book is that I could have $20 million in the bank, and I would still fear that it's not enough.
Yeah.
And so money, and that's one of the things my wife and I, we don't struggle, but we had a conversation, talk about, is that my wife is we have the money, we got to enjoy it. We need to, but for me, I'm okay, there has to be a happy medium. I need to have X amount of dollars in the bank for me to feel comfortable. Yeah. So if crap hits the fan, I can provide for my family. Right. And that's what you got to, I would encourage you to read that book and be okay, because everyone's a little different. You said materialistic, right? Yeah. Maybe if he's okay, I've got my sights on a house. Well, it's going to take how many applications to get that house, and then all the utility bills with it. Then you're okay, that's a goal to strive towards. And then some people I just want to be, my bills paid. Well, then how do we motivate you out of that? Because they come of all types and motivate differently.
And honestly, a big thing that I've come to realize is people love recognition, and when they're doing well, to be praised and rewards and stuff like that. And so if you set goals with your agents and you have them, you see agents doing really well, I take mine out to dinner and stuff, do stuff like that, and reward them and recognize them, because it feels good. And especially in front of other people, it's and then it also pushes the other people. It's oh dang, I should be working right now. And it helps when you have those group of agents that are consistently working, and you can have the other sometime agents or part-time agents see that, and they're what am I doing? I should be working right now. That feels good,
Well, and be part of knowing that they're not, the insurance agents, it could be lonely at times, right? Because we're all in business for ourselves, but not by ourselves. But we need to circle. You talked about it earlier. Circle of friends that you're around and who you want to become. It's validating, and you need those people in your corner, in your circle. Yeah. And then I would say this is that people are always watching, and your example of what you did it started the conversation, to help those people down a path that you went down. And it wasn't a hard conversation because they're like, man, what the heck's Trey been doing the last 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And I want what he's got, right?
Yeah.
And you're able to just plug them in. So how have you developed a way to distinguish, okay, here's business, here's friendship? Because a lot of times I have friends in the business, right? And it's like it's balancing act.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too is sometimes you're their financial advisor, you're their CPA, you're their business consultant, you're their relationship consultant, you are their debt, the debt collector, right? All those things. You're like, this is a lot more than just here's a path, right?
Yeah.
But let's go back to the business and friendship. How do you navigate that?
So that's a good question. That's something the last few weeks I've been really diving into. I had a walk with my mentor, Jimmy, a couple weeks ago, and that's literally the biggest question I asked him. I go, Jimmy, how do I distinguish? I have these good group of friends that are my agents that like, I want to keep business separate, but like more than anything, I want that friendship to be there and remain there. Like, how do I go about that? And he gave me some really good advice. He said, honestly, you need to have a conversation with them and say, hey, I want to be honest. Our friendship is the thing that means the most to us. That's my main priority. I know we work together and I'm your manager, but I want you to know that I will be there and hold you accountable of any goals you want to set or anything you feel like I could help you with on that side. But I want you to know, like, firsthand, our friendship is what means the most to me. But at the end of the day, like, I do help you with business, and if there's anything I can hold you accountable for, I want to be there for you. And just kind of be open like that. And if they're like, well, yeah, I am trying to write like 10, 15 apps a month, and then it's like, okay, well, let's see how that looks.
Map it out.
Let's map it out. And I want to be there for you, but obviously I don't want to be over there like, oh, you're not working, like all this sort of thing. When I'm like, no, like at the end of the day, I'm your friend, but like I want to be there and push you if that's what you want.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like I'm not gonna be the one to push my agents. They gotta, like, I'm gonna try and help them get up and going, and give them all the opportunities and direction I can, but they gotta have it under their own skin. And so that's why
they have to want it. They have to want it more than they want oxygen, right? Until they figure it out. So would you, to restate that, would you just say setting an expectation? Because I think times in my experience, I've said things that were business related, but were taken personal and some feelings were hurt, right? Yeah. And I didn't want that. Yeah. And I've learned, I've had set better expectations. Like, hey, this is business, right? Mm-hmm. You came to me. Here's an example. You came to me and said, Ty, what can I do to write 10 apps a month?
Yeah.
And I go through all the options, and you sit there and tell me, no. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, well, I just showed you everything and told you everything that you could do. You shot me down on everything. The only thing I can tell you is to get off the couch. Mm-hmm. And then that person takes offense, right? And then I'm the bad guy. Yeah. But I mean, I'm like, I didn't know what else to say.
Right.
I mean, and there's been I've gotten better. I've come back and I said, I don't know what else to tell you until you have a desire to actually want this and come up with a game plan. Yeah. I'm dead in the water.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I'll be honest, like the hardest person I've had to work with, me and my brother, we're best friends. We live together, and he's an agent, and that's probably the toughest one. And I just, at the end of the day, like all you can be is like, he works hard. But I feel like the thing I could do the most to my agents and my brother, like, is be like an example.
Yeah.
And be that example that they look at you and they're like, wow, he's successful because he works hard, or, that sort of thing. And don't get me wrong, I've gone stagnant in my career. I have, especially during the summer months. I travel, I fly a bunch and do all these sort of things, which are fun. But when it comes to work time, I would like to say I'm the hardest worker out there. So
my mentor used to say, you work hard, you play hard. When you play hard, you play hard. And when you work hard, you work hard. And don't intermingle the two.
Yeah. I work hard to play hard. And I mean, it makes it fun. So well said.
Well, Trey, any last thoughts?
Man, I just feel grateful to be on here, share a little bit of my story. I just know how good of an example you are to your agents, and it's awesome to see good leaders in this industry. And I have people that are getting into this, and they don't know how grateful they should be to have mentors and people to point them in the right direction. Because I know, like for Chris, and I imagine you and some other people, they they just got into it and didn't have someone that could point them in the right direction. If you have someone that could save you years of experience, and that's what life is for. And having managers like that is to look for people that have gone through what you're about to go through, and they can teach you a lot and help you get going. And so I, seriously look up to you. You're great. So.
Well, thank you. Ride their coattails.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, ride their coattails. They've been there. And I mean, I had another kid on the show a little bit earlier, and he's like, man, we've had some pretty deep conversations about how you started and some of the struggles he was having, because he was like, I'm just not making it.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, I get it. I mean, you just got to keep going. Right. And now it's completely different 3 months later. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, then the sky's the limit.
Absolutely. So,
as always, share, like, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.